The following narrative is based on an email we received from an anonymous source. This individual is claiming he saw police interacting with a Dogman family. He also informs us up front that the police are denying the story, and so I shouldn't contact them about this. I'm deleting certain location information from this episode because I don't want any of us to get involved in this guy's personal fight against his local police precinct. If he is being honest, then my heart goes out to him. But if he's smearing professional law enforcement, then I would want to distance myself from him sharply and drastically. I'm not going to call someone a liar who is nice enough to send us their story, but I want it clear that we support the cops and know how hard a job that is. Are you from the area in question? Can you either corroborate or debunk any of the following narrative? In either case, we'd love to hear from you at our email or our phone machine. At any rate, we're going to present the story for entertainment purposes. And this already controversial narrative bears the long title, Has Dogman Gone Too Far? Is proof of his existence just around the corner? Dear Scary Stories NYC, I recently saw something happen with my own eyes that I wish I could have filmed, because the authorities are already pretending it did not happen. I wouldn't be surprised if there was actual body camera footage recorded of the incident that I'm about to describe, but since the world is the way it is, I also wouldn't be surprised if it's been hidden away or even destroyed. This is because the situation that I saw involved a violent incident where police got involved in a skirmish with a gang of young people who didn't look like people at all. It looked like these guys were actually werewolves, or something an awful lot like werewolves. I live in Redacted, which is in Northern California, better known as Bigfoot country. I had never heard of the Dogman until about 5 years ago, when my friend showed me an episode of some old TV show that he had recorded. I think it was Monster Quest. I remember them showing us how to fake a Dogman video using a ghillie suit and all that. But I also went away thinking that this creature is maybe just as real as Bigfoot. Being from where I'm from, I've never doubted the reality of the Sasquatch people, even though I've never seen one myself. That TV show and my friends made me feel that possibly werewolves do really roam the woods in the Midwest and back east. I never considered that he might be roaming around in the same area as me and Bigfoot, though. So up until extremely recently, my friends and I always hung out at Redacted School on Redacted Street, which had been my high school and still is most of theirs. I graduated last year, though, so I've been working jobs and not really feeling the need to hang out around high school. I mean, that period is in my past now. But last weekend, one of my buddies said we were going to meet up behind the school at our old hangout spot and then drive into Redacted to see Redacted play. They're a good band that we know the drummer in. At any rate, I agreed to do it their way, but I also hope they grow up soon. Getting pre-whatevered before a show is already kind of old for me. I'm focused on paying rent since I've moved out of my parents' home and all that. My buds are either younger or they got left back. I can't expect them to always see things how I see them because they don't yet have adult responsibilities. That doesn't mean they aren't good people though, because they're the best people. So I let my friends do their thing, and I was actually happy to see them again. The joker in our group, we call him Chris Pratfall, decided to take a leak against a chain link fence. Someone else yelled at him to watch out because there was a cop running over in our direction. Everyone hid what they were doing and stood at attention, looking around for the cop that had just been mentioned. Pratfall was zipping his pants up, and we were all preparing for the worst when I finally caught sight of the officer in question. This guy seemed to have some kind of bulletproof riot gear thing on around his chest. He looked like he was going to break up a mostly peaceful protest from 2020 or something. Except he was running toward us, and we weren't protesting anything. Then I could make out that there were more cops off in the distance, Some of them were also running in our direction, but some of them seemed to be involved in a fight with, bam, out from behind a tree, a large dark figure tackled the right gear cop who had been running toward us from his side. This bigger guy had ambushed the cop, who never saw the attack coming, and fell to the ground in a weird way that didn't look right. I heard him scream, and my instincts took over. I started running over there to help the guy, and I heard my friends running behind me. We were all thinking the same thing. That large dark form was a criminal who was about to end that cop's life prematurely. We were the only ones who could possibly help him, and so we were running over. The weird-looking dark figure must have heard us coming, because he turned and glared, flashing his teeth and making this creepy growling sound that gave me goosebumps. That was not a human face. This was not some kind of criminal. It was more like a three-dimensional, living nightmare. We all stopped running and stared. It didn't have a human face, and it didn't have a human body either. That must logically mean that it wasn't a human being at all. Then whatever that guy was, he stood up, leaving the cop at his feet, and he showed us all 7 or 8 feet of his perfect humanoid body, covered in fur that ranged in color from white to silver to black. Humans don't have fur, especially not like that, and animals don't have body shapes like that. So what were we looking at exactly? This dog-headed bear man took a step toward us, and I saw the cop get up on all fours and start crawling away. I started talking to the hairy monster man, trying to keep him focused on us, so that the cop had a chance to get up and maybe help us in return. Eventually, the officer did get to his feet. I don't know if he had lost his weapon or what, but he did not pull it on the creature man. As soon as the officer was standing, he ran away, back toward the other cops, who were involved in a fight with at least half a dozen more of these beastmen, over closer to the school. How many cops were there? I'm not sure, but it looked like the front line in some new international conflict. I keep calling the creature a guy and a man and so forth, but I don't really know what it was, because Dogman shouldn't really be here in Bigfoot country, I don't think. Let's call him Dogman anyway, because he or she did have a canine head. More like a wolf than a house pet kind of a dog. I mean, what if these werewolf-type critters wandered by accident all the way over to Bigfoot country? Like maybe this apparent gang or a clan of them had a faulty GPS device. So, when the cop ran off, the Dogman turned to watch him leave. I thought at first that he was gonna give chase, and maybe he was considering it. But then he decided not to, and turned back around slowly to look at us. He was so calm about it that I took that as a threat, or worse, a promise that he was about to mess the whole bunch of us up. So we turned and ran, which is the stupidest thing to do in a situation like that. The Dogman is some kind of predator. You can tell by his teeth, which were not designed to eat broccoli and kale. Predators generally come programmed with an inner instinct to chase that which runs. But you just said the injured cop ran away and he didn't chase. That is very true. When the predator is faced with multiple options as to which prey to chase, the hungry predator will generally pursue the easier to catch animal. The cop was armed and trained to fight. We were unarmed and trained to throw 12 or 20-sided dice in simulated Dungeons & Dragons melee rounds. But there was one cop, and there were 6 of you guys. Yes, well, I said the hungry predator pursues the easiest catch. The well-fed predator may choose whichever prey to pursue, based on which would make the best sport. In other words, which of these would be the most fun to chase and torment for a long time? And apparently the idea of ruining our day seemed like a much more fun prospect for this Dogman than wrecking that cop any further. It took a step toward us and seemed to almost grin as we made noises as though we were frightened chipmunks or squirrels. Yeah, it was definitely going to be fun to drag this out all afternoon, taking us down one by one in a leisurely fashion as we weeped and yelled for our mommies. Chris Pratfall blurted out, "Last one to my house is a blue checkmark on Twitter," and we ran. We all took off toward his family's place, which was the closest house to where we were. Pratfall was also screaming about all the security cameras around his house. He wanted the freaking Dogman to chase us. I mean, he wanted it to. He was hoping it would run in front of the security cameras. That made me think of trying to take a picture with my cell while I was running. I reached in my pocket and turned around just in time to see one of my friends take his phone out, apparently with the same idea in mind. When he looked back and saw how close the beast was getting, he nervously fumbled the camera right out of his sweaty fingers and was forced to leave it back there as the Dogman was too close. I pulled my hand out of my pocket. If I got to safety, then I could try to take a picture. With my life flashing in front of my eyes, though, running through muddy ground and half-bare trees in the cold, I was more likely to drop my phone like my friend did than to create any kind of masterful portrait or proof of the Dogman. I'd be getting a photo blurry enough to be called a fogman instead of Dogman. I'd be risking my life and a device it would cost a lot to replace, all in the cause of capturing a useless snapshot. It didn't seem worth it to me in that moment. You have to understand, also, I was really scared just then. I'm writing this to you in my room with my cat on my lap. I'm calm and able to joke around about it. While it was happening, though, I was freaking out and panicking. I want to clear that I did think about taking a picture, but not till we were running from the thing. I did not think about taking pictures before because first we thought we were being chased by a cop, and then we thought we needed to rescue the cop. You know what I'm saying? It's not like we were vacationing on the Queen Mary and noticed cops fighting with dogmen off on the shore. It was more like we were suddenly discovering ourselves in the middle of some kind of turf war between these animals and us humans, with the cops representing our side. We had to react in pure survival mode, even though we really had no idea what the heck was going on. I mean, if those cops showed up expecting a riot, that means they had prior experiences with this tribe or clan of creature men. So what happened before this that led to what we had seen and what we were running from? That was one of many questions that probably weren't even flying through my brain yet, as I tried to pace myself and keep running all the way to Pratfall's home. There's a shortcut through the woods that's very special to me and one of my friends because when we were very young, we were there when our fathers joined forces to put it in place. It's something my mother detests, although she's only heard about it. You see, there is a certain tributary of a certain river that runs in such a way as to cut us off from the area our school is in. The two dads, way back in the day, found a tree that had recently fallen in a storm, and using hand axes, they refashioned it and laid it across the river tributary, which was set pretty deep into a recess in the ground. It wasn't impenetrable before, but you'd have to climb down, get yourself wet crossing, then climb back up. Even as a kid I could do it, but having this log secured overhead, flattened a bit on the top side, gave us a way to walk it that was fun for a kid to do. It felt like an adventure. Well, when we ran over that log on that afternoon, the Dogman came up behind and just pulled it out of the ground in one easy tug. I flew forward into pratfall and we pratfalled onto the ground on the other side, me on top of him and him face down in the dirt. My other friend Joe wasn't as lucky, as he fell down into the water below, which I imagine was cold in the first week of December. I heard the splash, and I heard him cry out as I lifted myself off of Chris. And when I looked behind, to my horror, I saw the dogman leap down into the water, right where Joe had fallen. The screams were like something out of a Texas Chainsaw movie, and we ran away. I was crying pretty hard, because I felt like we had just left our friend back there to die, and that wasn't what the good guys were ever supposed to do. Nevertheless, I kept running, and so did the others. I could hear someone chasing me, and I didn't know if it was one of my friends or another one of the dogmen. I went into a kind of a Zen trance, counting my breaths in and out, as I ran. I felt like I was detached from my personality, and I was just sort of the driver of the car of my body. More oxygen, run faster, slow down for this curve. Forget about panicking. Forget about emotion altogether. Focus on what needs to happen in that moment and prepare for what needs to happen next. Continue to propel yourself forward as fast as your body will allow, and slow down when you feel yourself passing your limitations. I needed to stay conscious. I couldn't faint. I needed to keep moving. I could not collapse. Recognize your limits and butt up against the very edge of them. Force your body to tell you that you're going too far before easing up in any way. My grandfather used to give me talks like that about when he was in combat, to explain how he handled some very terrifying situations. He was not much older than I am when he was overseas, so all of his old stories were coming back to me as I ran, and I think it was Grandpa's advice and experience that kept me from tripping myself up, or even just fainting away on the spot. So when most of us reached Pratfall's place, we ran down to his basement room. It had a secure door on it and bars on the windows, which were set right above the level of the ground. We all squeezed into the available window space, armed with our cell phone cameras, waiting for the dogman to walk into our camera trap, which he never did. Our friend Joe is sick, and his mother won't allow any of us to see him or even talk to him on the phone. She blames us for him running through the river tributary and getting himself sick, but she should blame the dogman, not us. That dogman is a jerk. He could have killed any number of us with that stupid trick of destroying my father's log bridge. I haven't even told him about that yet. I know I'll get blamed for it if I can't fix it before he sees it. Dad doesn't walk through the woods very often, though, so I've got some time to figure out how to get it done. I am not a natural Mr. Fix-It like my dad is, so I'm looking at internet videos to understand something on this subject. Anyway, when I can get Joe's side of the story, I'll send that to you. But since I'm not in school anymore, I don't naturally run into him as often as I used to. He isn't on social media lately. I imagine that's also because of his mom. Sooner or later, I'll find out how he got away from the dogman, or exactly how it all went down, while we were sitting there waiting to see the dogman at Pratfall's house. One thing that the rest of us all agree about is that the cops must know what those dogmen are. They seem to know a lot more than the rest of us. And if that's the case, then possibly we might all be about to learn a whole lot more about this species or subspecies. Could it be that by stretching their turf all the way to the west coast, the dogman has oversaturated its presence to the point where it soon will not be able to hide its existence from the human population in the USA? And so once again I ask you these two questions. Has Dogman gone too far? Is proof of his existence just around the corner? Mary Gillies, consider the lilies. How does your garden grow? Mary Gillies, consider the lilies. What rhymes with that? I don't know. Please, please join us in thanking Mary Gillies for making this episode possible. Mary has been a PayPal Club member for quite a long time. We couldn't do the show without her. If you'd like to become as valuable as Mary Gillies, then just listen to our international TV spokesmongrel Henry Lee Dogman as he fills in all the deets. Hank? Thanks, Biggie. And thanks to all of you for watching this far. If you liked it, please click like. If you'd like to see more of our work, please subscribe. And also click that bell icon if you'd like to be notified when we put out a new episode. To become an executive producer, you can donate to us through the thanks button under each of our videos or through our paypal.me/PeterBernard209 page. To receive cool perks like secret uncensored Dogman episodes far too wild to ever run on this channel, you can become a YouTube channel member by clicking the join button. Or join our PayPal subscribers club at peterbernard.com. Joining either at the $3 a month level or above gets you access to our over 25 hours of secret uncensored Dogman stories available nowhere else. Do you have a scary story about Dogman or some other kind of high strangeness that happened to you? Let us know by emailing us at scarystoriesnyc@gmail.com or by leaving us a voicemail message at 804-LA-SCARY. You may need to call back on that one. It cuts off after, I think, 3 minutes. And if you don't want to do any of that stuff, thank you for simply watching to the end. Good night, and have a scary tomorrow.
Come back for more scary stories.